Tenants and advocates are upset about a House bill in the state of Missouri that would ban local eviction moratoriums. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's an update to the story I did earlier about the fact that the state of Missouri, right, politicians there are pushing to ban local eviction moratoriums, okay? They basically are saying that this is the sort of thing that should be left up to the state and not to these little smaller jurisdictions, okay? So in places like Kansas City and St. Louis, right, they have had their own local eviction moratoriums, and the state lawmakers are saying, hey, this is going against the state constitution here, and you shouldn't have the ability to just strip property owners of their rights. And I agree with that. Okay, I think it's going against the federal, the national U.S. Constitution as well. And for that reason, I don't want to see any sort of eviction moratorium going on at all. But, when you have this very left-leaning, progressive island in a state like Missouri, which overall is a very landlord-friendly, very conservative place, they try to throw their own little rules and regulations in there, even if it goes against the law. And I just don't agree with that. And so, I want to see this pass. One thing that you might not know about me is I invest in the state of Missouri. I live in Omaha, Nebraska, but I own property here in Omaha as well as in the Kansas City area. So this is an important issue to me. I don't want to see any local eviction moratoriums in the state of Missouri. I don't. Okay. I don't want to see them anywhere, but particularly where I invest. Okay. These are bad news for landlords. They only punish you and they force you to become low-income housing provider or homeless shelter for people who can't pay their bills. And it is a stretch so far that basically it's a socialist policy, where the government will take care of the people so that you don't have to work. You don't have to do anything. Someone else will pay your bills for you. And I don't agree with that. I never have. But before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below, and let me know what you think of this proposed legislation. Do you think it's cool that a state is actually proposing to ban local eviction moratoriums? Okay, I think it's cool. I think this is great news for landlords. I want to see this happening in more places. I want to see, states say, hey, no more eviction moratoriums. Even in the state of California, the patchwork of local and county and city and state eviction moratoriums is so confusing. Landlords don't even know what laws they need to follow and what they don't. There needs to be one uniform set of laws so that landlords can at least know what they're doing and what they need to do. And that's why I hate these laws so much, because they put laws in place. Landlords don't even know they're in place, and then until they get sued or until they get fined by the city or taken to court. And that's just wrong. That's not the way things should be done, okay? So this article is coming from St. Louis NPR, and it says, Missouri Republicans push plan to prohibit local eviction moratoriums. All right, let's see what this one says. Eviction moratoriums designed to keep people in their homes during the pandemic have drawn the ire of Missouri lawmakers, with Republicans pushing a plan to prohibit them in the future. State Representative Chris Brown of Kansas City is sponsoring a measure that would prohibit any county, municipality, or political subdivision from imposing or enforcing a moratorium on eviction proceedings unless specifically authorized by state law. He says the public health orders hurt landlords, particularly on retirees who rely on that rental income. And the truth of the matter is, okay, I know people like that, okay? I know people who live off of their rental properties. Okay, that is the only income they have for their entire household is their rentals. Okay, and when you're talking about people like that, and I'm not talking about big mega corporations here. I'm talking about, like they said, retirees. These are people who, they left the workforce. Now they own maybe a dozen rentals, right? And they rent them out. And that income they make from those properties is what they live on. They do all the property management themselves. They're handymen. They kind of do all the handyman work themselves, and they live, nice middle class lifestyle. So what happens when you're talking about somebody and they've got, just a few properties and they live off of it, and you take away that income? You tell their tenants, hey, you don't have to pay rent anymore. They'll be fine. Well, guess what? Now this person is left in a position where they can't pay their own bills. Okay. You've gone into a small business and told them you can't make an income. And, everyone should sympathize with this. Back when the pandemic first started, they shut restaurants down. They shut gyms down. They shut hairstylists down, told them you cannot work. You took their income away, and it was devastating to them. Right? The difference is, though, that all of those people have been allowed to resume their businesses and get the ball rolling like normal again. Whereas the landlords had, they had to have that eviction moratorium thrown out by the Supreme Court before they finally were able to start getting paid like normal again. Okay? That's how ridiculous that was. Nobody ever thought, well, gee, somebody's got to pay these bills. And they made the excuse, well, we have this rental assistance here, and never realizing that, hey, tenants, they have to meet certain income thresholds to be protected or to get rental assistance, and the tenant had to apply. The landlord couldn't apply on their own. They put the whole system around helping the tenants when the tenants weren't the ones who, had the bills that were due. The tenants, the only thing they had to worry about was the rent. The landlord has just, dozens of things they have to pay. Everything from getting repairs done, getting capital expenditures done, paying their insurance payment, paying their mortgage payment, paying their property taxes, paying their property manager. I have property managers on my property. I have to pay them regardless of whether I get rental income or not. Okay, paying handymen, you know what I mean? There's so many people that we have to pay, yet they thought that, oh, well, if we take these people's income away, everything will be peachy keen, right? These people over here will get to stay forever. Well, if you tell these people over here that they don't have to pay and that I have to pay their bills for them, it creates a mess. It creates a disaster. And even if, 6 months later, somebody gets rental assistance, then that doesn't cover up all the expenses they incurred up until then. So, I haven't mentioned this many times on here, but just recently, right, I actually dealt with a tenant who was suffering during the pandemic in one of my properties here in Omaha. And I have this property under property management. And so my property manager took care of everything. So I actually, for the first time, got rental assistance payment through the federal government's COVID relief funds. This is all new to me. Before this point in time, I had never even dealt with any of it. So, now I am personally involved in this. And so at this point, I am still 100% opposed to these eviction moratoriums. I'm still opposed to this ridiculous rental assistance nonsense. And I just want things to be back to normal, because when it comes down to it, the tenant that I have in that property, right, they got rental assistance money. I got thousands of dollars that they owed me, but they're not going to be able to pay going into the future. And it probably would be better if they just moved on. Okay. That's the honest truth. It would be better if they moved on and I got a tenant in there who was able to pay their bills, because I don't know if they're going to be able to pay me going into the future. And that is a disaster right there. I'm just thinking about, am I going to have to evict this tenant, or is this tenant, if they don't pay, going into the future, or are they going to leave on their own? I hope that if they can't pay and they're not eligible for any additional rental assistance, that they just move on, but who knows? Okay. I'm part of this mess now, personally. And fortunately, I have enough finances, I have enough emergency reserves to cover this tenant having not paid me for months. So yeah, but it's just a bad situation overall. And there's thousands of other landlords just like me out there, small landlords who are dealing with these issues. But let me keep going on this article here before I go off too far on my tangent. These people have lease agreements, obviously, with these tenants, Brown told The Independent, and I certainly believe also it's a violation of property rights. The bill passed the House earlier this month, 102 to 36, and is now waiting to be heard by the Senate Committee on Local Government and Elections. It has strong support from the Missouri Association of Realtors, but faces opposition from groups who advocate on behalf of low-income renters. With full confidence, those moratoria not only kept children and families in place, but it saved lives. And I'm not going to read that garbage. You know, they're still going on about how somehow this, not getting evicted saved lives. I don't believe it. I don't believe it any more than I believe the masks worked. Okay? It's just another nonsense talking point. Okay? They have no actual evidence that it saved any lives. Not being able to. You know what? Here is what I want, okay? I want this to pass in the state of Missouri. I want this to go to other states too. It'd be great if it was in Nebraska as well. No more local eviction moratorium. I don't want to see those sort of things in place, okay? Anywhere. They're not legal. They're not lawful. They hurt landlords. They take away people's property rights. And simply put, at least in one state, in the state of Missouri, they're doing the right thing by trying to make sure that it doesn't happen again.